What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Jenks Island podcast, the only NFL podcasting year takes from a washed-up Division II cornerback and his friends. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down our all NFL under-25 team. We're going to be giving each position one or two guys and the top guy under 25. And for that qualification for us, it's basically anyone that's going to be 25 by the time this season starts is not available to be chosen for this list. So starting off at quarterback, guys, we were consensus here. Jayden Daniels is going to be our pick. And I think that's to a few reasons. Ty, do you want to start off the conversation for him?
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious one just being he was the rookie of the year this past year, and he led the Commanders to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991. So, just the accolades alone. But statistically, right, I mean, he was super duper accurate. He was, 69% passer, another rookie record. He added another 891 rushing yards, another rookie record. So the accolades just really, really stacked up for him. His competition isn't that, it's really like Bo Nix right now, maybe CJ Stroud, but Jayden Daniels kind of is, above and beyond in that below 25 range.
Yeah.
For me, he's like a top 5 quarterback right now. And I know for a lot of other guys too, that they consider him in that top 5 or at least in the top 10 range. And that sets him apart.
Yeah, so I would say he's definitely top 10 quarterback stamped. And I just have so much, you can rely on him so much, like game in, game out. Like he's shown you that he's going to perform under pressure over and over again throughout the season. And honestly, like when he's like, when you think he's down and out, like he's never really quitting, which like gave me so much confidence in Jayden Daniels. He just has that moxie on the field. He's never out of the game. And having that like feeling about a rookie quarterback is pretty rare. Like you only feel that way about a couple guys. This guy's, I think he's only going to keep getting better. And even if he maintains that level of play, still kind of like the epitome of like a dual threat quarterback and how you can turn garbage throwaway plays for some quarterbacks into a 6-yard rush, into a first down. He can just destroy you with his legs. So yeah, he'd be my QB as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw just his breakout party, right, being the Bengals game on primetime last season, and then after that, like you really saw him just turn the Commanders team completely around. And going into last season, right, the Commanders were expected to be maybe like a 6-7 win team. Like people didn't really have high expectations for them. They thought they would be a little bit better, but no one expected the true turnaround that he brought. And it just, like you just said, Ethan, like you just think he's going to keep getting better year after year. We saw him get better week after week after week, and he just kept improving, getting more comfortable in the NFL system and against NFL defenses. And I think that will continue for years to come. Next at running back, we were again consensus for both of these guys. So there was 2 running backs for us, Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. First of all, Jahmyr Gibbs, I remember just when he was coming into the draft, right? I was so high on this guy. It's like, this is Alvin Kamara mini, Alvin Kamara light. Was what I was calling him. And he proved it. He went out and proved it right away on the field. He went out, balled out for the Lions under Ben Johnson. I think he'll continue to do that. He's only 23 years old. And this guy, you see it week in, week out, the things he does. He started a whole like the Sonic trend, Sonic and Knuckles now with the Lions with David Montgomery. And this guy, I know some people want to put Bijan over him, but this guy was better than Bijan, and he did it in less rushing attempts than Bijan as well. So Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely the running back 1 in my eyes above Bijan, but both of these guys are really, really solid. Ty, what are your thoughts on Jahmyr?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, right, he is above Bijan, but it's really close, right? Like statistically, they were kind of there, but you mentioned, he just did it in less carries. Like Jahmyr is just so electric. Imagine him not having David Montgomery too, right? Like add all those carries onto him. Maybe eventually he would break down, but just imagine the statistics that he could put out. He's again, like all these guys a lot of these guys that are going to be on here, especially on the offensive side, are record breakers. Like Jahmyr went out, set the record, franchise record for the Lions last year in total touchdowns. He had 20 total touchdowns. Like, not many guys have done stuff like that, just period, right? So considering that he's at the same franchise that Barry Sanders played in too, I think that just speaks for itself.
Yeah. Ethan, you have anything more to add on Gibbs, or you want to talk Bijan?
Yeah, so I did kind of wrestle with putting Bijan above Gibbs, but I ended up just going with production and efficiency in Jahmyr Gibbs. Even though he has less touches, I feel like his touches are a little more valuable and kind of playing more into his skill set and his role. And that's not a knock on
That's
him.
true.
He just happens to be in a backfield with David Montgomery, who's also a great running back. But in terms of like efficiency, like Ty said, the 20 touchdowns, there's not a better breakaway like explosive threat in the NFL, not off the top of my head. And like if I'm going to bet on a guy to like score a touchdown every week, is probably Jahmyr Gibbs. And then Bijan, I've talked about him on this podcast before, but he's one of my favorite guys to watch. And coming from a Saints fan, that says a lot.
Yep.
He just moves different. He's special. He's shown that he's really can do like everything that you want an elite running back to do. And he just happens to be in the same draft class as Jahmyr Gibbs, so he's here
Yeah.
too.
And it was crazy. It was when Jahmyr Gibbs was drafted, right, in the first round. Everyone was like, why did he get picked so early? And clearly the
Right.
Lions saw what a lot of, and I'm sure other teams might have picked him earlier, later in the first round as well. Like all the fan bases out there were like, why is this running back getting taken this early? Running back shouldn't be taken in the first round, but he definitely deserved the pick, and so did Bijan as well. And they're both playing like it. Next, we got receivers. So all three receivers we were consensus on for this as well. Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., and Malik Neighbors. We could talk first about Puka Nacua because he entered first. Obviously, this guy came out of nowhere as in the terms of really breaking out as far as fantasy and in the eyes of the fans out there in the NFL world. The Rams clearly saw his talent, and he came out, basically took Cooper Kupp's job, right? And Cooper Kupp, some injuries played into that, things like that as well. And he absolutely balled out in his rookie season. Came out, was a guy that Matt Stafford could trust right away with any pass, anywhere on the field, any route, things like that. He could bring down the ball in any situation they possibly need him to. And it's a guy that, I think any NFL team would want as their wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, maybe in some places like Minnesota and Cincinnati. But this is a guy that he's just so reliable. He's 24 years old. And I would say compared to these two guys, you could put him in any situation, he'll succeed. So we'll see how he continues to play the rest of his career. Tyler, your thoughts on Puka?
Yeah, I mean, after the impressive rookie season, you start to look at last year, right? And you hope that he can stay healthy, right? Because he missed some
Yep.
games last year. But the pace, I think, is the more important part to look at there. In 11 games, he had 79 catches and 990 yards. I mean, he was on, that first season was insane, right? Came out of nowhere, like you said, but he was on pace to smash that, right? Like you were talking about record territory if
Yep.
he gets 6 more games in him. So I'm interested to see, like, kind of, how that offense evolves with Cooper Kupp gone and Devontae stepping in, but I really don't see, Puka taking a step back. I think he'll just be that slot guy that, him and Cup kind of played off of each other with. But I think he's in line for maybe an even bigger season than we've seen him have in the past.
Yeah, and do you guys think the Devontae signing, like him coming over, do you think that's going to truly affect them at all, or do you think like numbers wise he'll still kind of remain the same?
I think it puts Puka right in that slot spot where Cup had
Yeah.
so much success, where he's had so much success when Cup's been out. I think it's only, a good omen for him too, because there's a corner on the outside that's not going to be able to follow him, right? They're
Yep.
going to have to respect Devontae too. So I think he might have better numbers, to be honest.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think it'll hurt him at all. Ethan, do you want to move on from Nakua, or do you have anything to add, or do you want to move on to Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors?
I mean, you guys explained Buka pretty well. I feel like he's like you said, Jenks. He's play on any offense. Like there's no team that wouldn't want this guy, even if they have a stamped wide receiver 1. Um, and I think he's like honestly an underrated contested catch threat as well. Like even
Yeah,
though he plays
definitely.
like a lot out of the slot, he's kind of like a tight end and a receiver in one, because McVay uses that like 11 and a half personnel. Look at his wide receivers to block for him, and there's not really a better wide receiver for that under 25 than Puka Nacua. So yeah, I think he's going to be dominant out of the slot again, and you can line him up outside too as well. And pairing that with Devontae is just a nightmare.
Yeah. Moving on to Brian Thomas Jr. This guy, I mean, him and Malik Neighbors, right? Both the LSU stars going into the NFL last season and into the draft. I mean, we were like Malik Neighbors, obviously the number 1 receiver. Brian Thomas Jr., there was a lot of talk. Should he be higher than a couple other guys that he was below? last season, like Marvin Harrison Jr., like there was talk that Brian Thomas Jr. should be above them, but everyone was like, he's just a deep threat. He won't do anything else in the NFL. He'll just be the speedy downfield kind of guy for these NFL teams out there. And he went to the Jacksonville Jaguars and absolutely balled out. I mean, the guy had 87 receptions his rookie season, which a lot of people did not see coming. And he was sort of that safety blanket for Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence hadn't had that in his career, really. We've seen him have other receivers that have had a lot of drops and haven't been the best at targets. So Brian Thomas Jr. coming into this offense really turns it around for Jacksonville, gives them something to build off of in that offense. And we see them doing that this year, adding Travis Hunter to take some stress off of BTJ for this season. So I think BTJ will just continue to produce this season as well. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr. here?
Yeah, with Brian Thomas Jr., he's just an athletic freak. I didn't think he was like that good of a route runner coming into the draft, but he's kind of proved me wrong. And like he always finds a way to be open. Yeah. And I think like with the offense bringing in Cohen, he says he wants to funnel through Brian Thomas Jr. more. And honestly, like you didn't really feel like he was like an elite number one option that they were consistently going to last year. He just happened to be an elite option that like, oh, he's producing in like the third, fourth quarter. You know, they weren't like consistently trying to get him the ball like 30% target share or anything like that. And I think he's going to take a step forward this year. Obviously, he dealt with some nagging injuries last year, and I think sky's the limit for him.
Ty, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just think with both of these guys, right? Like the sky is the limit, and they're, you know, the room around them offensively has only improved, so they're going to only improve, right? You know, we mentioned Cohen, bringing in Travis Hunter to take some of that focus off of Brian Thomas Jr. You know, Neighbors gets a lot better quarterback play, no matter who's out there, right? Winston, Russ, Dart, whoever it may be, right? It's going to be better than what they had last year. So I think both of these guys are, you know, kind of on path for the meteoric rise that Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson had, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham had, right? It's really that duo of LSU receivers just taking off and taking over the league and becoming, you know, I mean, these guys there is no reason that these two guys couldn't become the 3 and 4 best receiver right behind Chase and Jefferson in another year or two. And that's with mediocre quarterback play, right? I don't think Trevor Lawrence is obviously better than, you know, what the Giants have going, but if Dart can hit and stuff like that, it's only going to get better for them.
Yeah, no, like imagine if one of these guys somehow went to a team with a good quarterback. Like if Josh Allen somehow got one of these guys, like they would be unstoppable.
Arch Manning.
Yeah, Arch Manning next year. I mean, if the Saints aren't at the number one spot, the Giants could be. We'll see. I don't know. And Malik Neighbors, like you said, Ty.
They both come home to Louisiana.
And somehow make a move. And yeah, no, I will say, I think Malik Neighbors, right, as far as fantasy goes, dynasty value and everything like that, he should be up there right behind Jay Jettas and oh my God, Jahmyr. I think that he truly is that receiver 3 right now in dynasty wise, just because we've seen what he could do. Like you could give him the ball anywhere on the field. He only had 7 touchdowns last season, but I think that'll kind of bump up this year. I think they'll give him some more touchdowns, targets or red zone targets, things like that. And I want to ask you guys this real quick. Does Brian Thomas Jr., with the addition of Travis Hunter, do you think he gets back to his 10 receiving touchdowns this year, or do you think he goes a little bit under that this year?
Yeah, I just don't think Travis is going to have a big enough role, or we don't really know what his role is going to be, right? Like he is playing both ways. And I think BTJ is like more of that deep threat, like score the touchdowns on the deep balls, where Travis is more that intermediate kind of guy where he's going to take it and get a lot of yak. So I don't think he'll really be affected too much. I think it only makes it easier, right? When you get a receiver on the other side that's competent, right? Sometimes they had like Parker Washington out there, you know, they didn't have Kirk. Like I just think, I think his job gets a lot easier. He'll be healthier. So what do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, literally the exact same thing that you just said. I couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah, no, I think BTJ will be just fine this year again for all the fantasy owners out there. Moving on to Brock Bowers, tight end. Sorry, Brock Bowers was our consensus choice here. Again, I mean, Brock Bowers, you can't go wrong. And he's only 22 years old at this point in time. So he's my age, and I think Ethan's age too. I think Ethan, you're still 22. Yeah. So both of our age. Ty's a little bit older, which is just like crazy to think about, right? Like 22 years old. He's my age, and I'm just this scrawny white dude sitting on my chair in my room.
Dude, I couldn't be on this
talking
list.
ball.
I'm too old at this point.
Yeah, Ty's too. Yeah, like,
Tyler
listen,
Shook age.
yeah, Tyler. Yeah, he's just Tyler Shuck. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah, no, I think Brock Bowers, right? We talk about guys coming into offenses ahead of him or above him. We talk about guys coming into offense. The Raiders just added Ashton Genty, Jack Besh. They added Deontay Thornton. They added a bunch of guys to this room, but I still think Brock Bowers is going to still be the safety blanket, do it all kind of guy for the Raiders offense. They're still going to give him a bunch of touches. They're still going to give him the ball for both yards after catch opportunities as well as red zone touches. This guy does absolutely everything. I think Brock Bowers, obviously last year, was first team All-Pro. And I think he's going to continue to do that and be at that level for the next few years, at least until we maybe see another Brock Bowers coming down in the future. So what do you guys think about Brock?
Yeah, I mean, he's a dog, and I have to see him twice a year, so it sucks. But he was, people forget he was the runner-up for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like, he got more votes, first-place votes than Bo Nix did. So, and that was with, middling quarterback play of Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder, Gardner Minshew, right? Like, they kind of went through the gauntlet. Now he gets Geno Smith, right? And he's still the wide receiver one there. I know, Myers is a good receiver, and they've added some help with Besh and Dante Thornton, but he's still going to be the guy. And, I don't know. I've had to play against Kelsey for years now, and now I have to Brock Bowers. I absolutely hate it.
Ty, when will you guys get your own good tight end? When is that going to? I mean, Evan Ingram's something, but he's not a Brock Bowers.
Maybe Caleb Lohner turns out. I don't know.
Ooh,
basketball guys,
next
a little
Graham
action. Yeah. Hey,
okay.
I don't know, but yeah, we need something like this because it's just so dangerous, and he's just unguardable unless you have a linebacker that is one of the top 5 linebackers in the NFL. Like maybe Dre Greenlaw will be. But I mean, we had Surtain guarding him, right? You have to take your top corner, like the best corner in the NFL, the Defensive Player of the Year. That's what it takes to stop Brock Bowers. So yeah, and help. So I mean, Brock at some point, I wouldn't be shocked if he won Offensive Player of the Year.
Ethan,
yeah, I will say, as a Purdue graduate, the Aiden O'Connell slanders is not tolerated by me. But yeah, Brock Bowers, like, there's not much you can really say about him other than like he's elite and like a top 3 stamped tight end. And the best receiving threat at tight end in the league. And I think there was a Geno Smith quote at training camp that was like, every time I don't throw him the ball, I feel bad. It was something along those lines. And it's like, Geno Smith has played with a decent amount of wide receivers in his career and like, or a decent amount of targets, I should say. And like him saying that about Brock Bowers is, it says everything about it,
I mean, he played with DK Metcalf, who was complaining about targets, and he didn't feel bad for him.
That is true. That is true. Moving on to the O-line. Moving on to the O-line, guys. So this is our first difference here. We got at left tackle, Ty and I went with Charles Cross, Seahawks, and then Ethan came and went with Joe Alt from the Chargers. So Ethan, I want to let you describe the difference here. Joe Alt, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, if I'm forced to put in a person or a player who's majority left tackle, then I'm probably going Charles Cross. But I mean, Joe Alt was like pretty much as elite as the tackle prospect gets at Notre Dame. I think he only had 77 snaps at left tackle last year, and showed that he belonged. He mainly played it right. But if I'm forced to decide between like him and Charles Cross, then I'm probably going Joe Alt and just like hoping that those 77 snaps and the prospect that he was in Notre Dame is enough to get me there.
Yeah, I think it's a fair take. I mean, Charles Cross, right? He's a little bit older than Joe Alt too, so you have he has 2 more years of experience. So you're like, okay, we can get him in there. We trust him more. Whereas Joe Alt, their upside is definitely there for the prospect wise. I mean, draft. We're talking NFL draft. Like Joe Alt is like, this is like the definition of oh my God, I'm blanking on what it's called. A blue chip left tackle. Yeah. And so Joe Alt coming in, I don't mind that pick at all. Charles Cross, Ty, obviously we had a little bit of a difference here with Ethan. What are your thoughts on Charles Cross?
Yeah, and I'll say this: I do like the Joe Alt pick. I had him at right tackle when I went through this, so that's why he's not on my list because I think the right tackle that we did pick is pretty consensus. But
Okay.
Cross, I think he had his career best year this past year. Really made a lot of improvements. Only allowed 4 sacks this past year, and I think it's he's going to be really crucial to the success of Sam Darnold. Right, Darnold coming over. Having had a really good offensive line over there. I know Darisaw missed some time, but um, I think he's been in an offensive line that hasn't been that great over the years. He's at least been a steady piece that they drafted a couple of years ago. Really excels just as like a pass blocker. Only allowed pressure on 7% of pass plays. So he's just kind of locking it down on that left side, and they need to make some improvements around him to help him out a bit. But
Yeah. No, I'm moving on. We can move on from left tackle, moving on to left guard. We got consensus here, I believe, was going to be Tyler Smith from the Cowboys. And at some point, it's like the Cowboys, they know their offensive linemen at this point. The guard position, they can really just lock.
The Tylers.
Yeah, they lock down the guard positions and O-line, and Gary Jones is doing everything wrong except for that. He knows what they want in the O-line positions. Tyler Smith, obviously, only allowed 2 sacks last year. He's a really solid prospect at the left guard position, and the guy's young. He's 24 years old, and it's everything you want. I mean, guards we see across the league usually as vets and guys that are always rotating across the line, things like that. But if you get yourself a solidified guard that you can rely on for the future of your franchise, you love it. So Tyler Smith is a great pick here at the left guard position. Ty, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, right, obviously, like the Cowboys, like you said, they draft solid O-lineman. He's been a solid O-lineman, but it's just the commitment to, being more disciplined over the past couple of years. I think, penalties was a bigger issue for him. This past year, he only committed 4 penalties across 17 games. So, not only is he, obviously a really good offensive lineman, but he's working on being disciplined, being more technically sound. So anytime you're, not allowing a lot of sacks, not allowing a lot of penalties, I mean, we got to start talking about Tyler Smith as not only, maybe one of the best guards in this younger class, but one of the best guards in the NFL too. Probably up there with, the Quinn Miners, the Trey Smiths, and Quinn Nelsons of the world.
Yeah. Ethan.
Yeah, and we have seen that ascension from him. The 2 sacks that you mentioned, that's on 1,052 snaps, so it's not like he was playing any low number of snaps or anything. And then I think his pressure rate allowed was just under 2.1%, which is pretty absurd even for a guard. And yeah, I think he's young and ascending, and there's really no other left guards that I could put in the spot.
Yeah, no, it is tough. Especially at the age, like, right, we're limiting it to 25 and under, or under 25, so the list is small already, and this guy, he's just better than everyone else. Moving on to center, here we got Zach Frazier consensus yet again. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Zach?
I think he was a pretty good centerpiece of that Steelers line last year, and even with the down and down inconsistencies with Russell Wilson passing the ball, I think that O-line was pretty solid pretty much all year. And he was also 6th overall in center grade, not just under 25, but overall. And I just think he's going to keep getting better.
Yeah. Ty, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously graded out really well. Only 1 sack and 12 total pressures across his 15 starts. He was on the PFWA all-rookie team. There's a couple other guys that you could consider here, like Graham Barton, Jackson Powers-Johnson, but I think Frazier just kind of graded out better and was levels. There's the rookie class, the young guys, right? And then he is really amongst the best centers in the NFL. I do think Jackson Powers-Johnson can get there, though. I know he played a little bit of guard last year, but he graded out a lot better at center, position he played in Oregon too. So another guy, keep an eye out for.
I think with Ashton Genty too coming to Las Vegas, like that could just it draws more attention to the run game for the Raiders. And so if you see Jackson Powers-Johnson just going out and killing it on the highlights, it draws more attention to him. And that's something that, O-linemen, they don't get a lot of attention. So it draws more attention, gets his name out there a little bit more, and people start talking about him. Moving on to right guard here. This one was, I think it was consensus. Wait, let me see.
Actually, I put Peter Skoronski there, even though he's mainly left guard. Like, this is. I mean, if it's just right guards, it's pretty much a participation trophy. Like,
Yeah,
there's only one guy that's at least like halfway decent. And even
There's one
like,
guy,
even if
it's
he's-
Sean Ryan, and he's fine. You know, he was pretty good last year, kind of like middle of the pack guard. Interested to see how he does this year, kind of, you know, growing in another year, and, you know, with some of the guys around him too, just the chemistry. But I mean, and he did only allow 4 sacks across 17 games, so he's not bad. But it just happens to be that he is like the
This is like-
only
that's
young right guard that's
Yeah.
worth anything.
which is kind of funny. Like, it's just, like I was trying to go through it, and I know we all probably were. We were trying to dig for right guards, and we are just like, Sean Ryan.
It's like,
This is
dude,
really
he
it?
can't be the only one, but he's the only one.
Yeah. So participation award, but that all under 25 team. Welcome to the team, Sean Ryan or Peter Skoronski. Don't forget. If we're including some left guards in there, switch them over. Moving on to right tackle, this one's consensus. This one's a really easy choice, and I think all of our eyes is Penei Sewell, a guy that the Lions trust with absolutely everything on this team. I think he had a pass attempt last year at some point, and then he also had a catch or two last year. The guy does absolutely everything, and he's an amazing right tackle. That Jared Goff trusts him with absolutely everything. Obviously, he'll have just 1 sack. So, I mean, this guy, Penei Sewell, nothing more you could possibly ask for out of a right tackle. And what do you guys think about Penei?
Yeah, I mean, I think all you need to know is that he's leading the odds for the Protector of the Year award for this coming season, and I would absolutely hammer that because, you know, when it comes to pass blocking, he is like one of one, right? I think he was second in, or maybe second in pass block grade. So, you know, he's one of one when it comes to right tackles.
Yeah, Ethan.
Along with the pass blocking, he's also a great mover and down blocker in the run game. Like, he's really the perfect package.
Yeah. There's like you can't like, you could go on forever about him, but at the same time, it's just like he is the best. Like, he's just a dog.
He's just the best right tackle too, so
Yeah,
it makes it
there's
really,
nothing-
really easy when you're talking under 25.
Yeah, nothing else to add.
Shout out Lane Johnson though; he's a good right tackle.
It's, incredible.
He's all right. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, he's all right. Whatever. Anyways, moving on to the edges and to the defensive side of the ball. At edge number 1, we were consensus. We got Jared Verse. The things we saw him do last season for the Rams were absolutely incredible. We saw him going into the draft last year, and it was a lot of people are talking, oh, he's just a bull rusher. He's just a power rusher. How will that be able to succeed against these NFL grade tackles? Came out and absolutely destroyed NFL offensive lines across the league. We saw it in the playoffs. We saw it in the regular season. The guy absolutely balled. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Jared Verse. Do you guys think that, would you say, like, even at his age right now, would you say he's getting close to like a top 5 edge, or will he break into that after this year? Where do you guys kind of rank him?
I need to see more sacks. You know, he had a really 77 pressures, 4th amongst edge defenders, right? He had a really high pressure rate. His pressure rate was 7th amongst edge defenders, but 4.5 sacks. That's a 5.9% sack conversion rate. That was the lowest among any edge defenders with 250 plus pass rush snaps. So it's like, you know, we just got on Shamar Stewart about that when, you know, I know he had 4.5 over his entire career, but like still, you know, we want to see him convert some of those sacks.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he's getting a ton of pressure. He's wrecking havoc, but for him to get into that top 5, you know, he's teetering on the top 10 right now. But it's like, I need to see the sack numbers before I'm calling you like a top 10 edge defender.
Is there a stat out there? Like, I wish there was a stat that would say, like, if the pressure led to a sack, because I guarantee you some of the times he's getting those pressures, and some of the other defensive linemen, because there's a lot of good defensive linemen on that team, are vulturing sacks from him. He gets the pressure, and then the quarterback has to step up, whatever, gets sacked. But
4.5 though is a really,
it's
really low
low
number. You know,
for that
like,
number of
that
pressures.
many pressures. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Ethan, anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, really, the only stain on his resume is that he's not. He's had 4.5 sacks. You know, he was 6th in pass rush win rate, and pressures have been more correlated to your subsequent seasons than just pure sacks have. They're a little more volatile. Like you guys said, like there could be a couple times where it's a cleanup sack, or you induce another guy to get a sack, and that can happen 3-4 times, and then you have a swing of 6 over a year. So and then one thing I wanted to mention was that Teron Armstead said, "I'm okay with never seeing that young man again in my life. You know it's coming. You brace yourself. He's different. Jared Verse is different. He will be a defensive player of the year one of these days. Mark my words." And from a long stinted vet like Teron Armstead, has some stains on career, like injuries and stuff like that. But he's certified, and for him to be giving you praise when he doesn't need to, it says a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Jared Verse has a lot of production in the future. I think he'll step up from that 4.5. I would hit the over button if the odds were at 4.5 for this year on the sports betting websites out there. Our next edge is going to be Will Anderson Jr. Consensus again here. Will Anderson Jr., blue chip coming out of college. Everyone knew he was going to get taken in the first 5 picks when he was. And the Texans ended up being able to swing right. They ended up swinging both C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson in the same draft. And it was very, very shocking to the NFL world. And it came out and it absolutely turned the team around, right? Will Anderson Jr. Obviously was the building piece of that defense on the defensive line, had 11 sacks last year and also didn't play the full season. So 11 sacks with a few games missed is a really solid number. What do you guys think about Will?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the 11 sacks over 14 games, 10th in the NFL. I mean, he was getting close up there to being, one of the leading sack guys, had a really high pass rush win rate, had a really high sack rate as well, led the NFL. So, I think him and Danielle Hunter really play off each other too, right? It's kind of like with Verse, he had a lot of other good, pass rush around him, but it's like you can't double Will, you can't double Danielle because then you're just selling yourself out, right? So, I with Danielle being locked down too, I just continue to see success for Will Anderson because he's not going to really be seeing that many double teams.
Yeah, Ethan, anything to add there?
No, you guys kind of explained it pretty well. I mean, another thing that you saw from Will Anderson at Alabama was the leadership, and I feel like that's carried over to like D'Amico Ryan's personality of this defense. And nothing much to add. I mean, these are 2 defensive rookies of the year right here, so pretty good.
Yeah, and for a reason. Like they're absolutely ballers.
Yeah,
they're in their consensus for a reason too. Like it's not hard to choose these guys on this list. Moving on to our interior defensive linemen, number 1 spot was consensus. We had Jalen Carter. Ethan, what are your thoughts on him?
I mean, he's one of the top 10 defensive players in the league. Like this guy absolutely takes over games, and there's really no answer for him. He's just an absolute disruptor. Doing that from the interior is pretty insane. Like the last time we saw someone of that caliber, it was Aaron Donald. Not saying he's Aaron Donald, but he's the best thing since that.
Yeah. Ty, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's just impressive what he's done on, the double team rate that he's had. 79% of his snaps, he's getting double teamed. So, to have as many pressures as he has to wreak as much havoc. The sack numbers aren't necessarily there, but he's an interior defense. When you're being double teamed that much, it's just not going to, you don't expect it to come through. But, 2 sacks in the postseason, right? He comes up big when it matters. So, yeah, he's a dog.
Yeah, he's eating double teams for lunch too. So it's like he can't, like his production might not be there, but he's taking shots for the team. He's taking multiple blockers and allowing other teammates to get in on the plays. Next, we got the other interior D linemen. So consensus was basically Devondre Sweat, but I had another guy I want to talk about. So I want to let you guys break down Devondre, and then I'll break down the second guy. What are your thoughts on Devondre?
Yeah, I mean, Devondre, he's a very different player than Brian Bresee, but, he's just, again, he's one of those.
Spoiler.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said the name. That's on me. Cut that out if you want, but Devondre is he's just a big dude that's going to eat up a lot. He's not a sack guy, right? He had 1 sack. He's just a big, run stuffing kind of guy, like similar to Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter is obviously a lot better of a pass rusher, but, one stat about Sweat that did surprise me a little bit, though. 8.5% pass rush win rate, same exact rate as Jalen Carter. That is a little bit shocking, but I think he was a real bright spot on a Tennessee team that was not great.
Yeah, no, it's not great. And, sorry, Ethan, go ahead.
Yeah, he was one of the only bright spots in Tennessee's last year. I think you had Brownlee as well, and then he's 16th in overall grade for defensive interior an interior D lineman according to PFF. Like that's something you really don't see out of a rookie, and he's just an absolute space eater in the run game. And having Brissy over him is kind of criminal. Like I know the Saints are looking at
as a Saints fan.
Let me. Okay.
Yeah, it's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Brian Brissy. Obviously, yeah, I don't think he's better than T'Vondre Sweat, but I want to highlight him in this under 25 list because I think he is such a different player than T'Vondre Sweat and Jalen Carter. He's not a guy that obviously
He's worse.
His run defense is it's very questionable. Okay, it's very, very questionable. Don't look at PFF. PFF isn't everything, people. It's not.
He has a 28.0 PFF grade.
It's not everything.
Yeah, I mean, when it's that bad, it says something.
This is the noise. This is the noise that they tell you not to listen to when you get to the league, right? You got to lock out the noise from the outside people and just lock in and do your own thing. So Brian Brissy, this is why I wanted to bring him up, right? The only reason I wanted to bring him up here. He had 7.5 sacks last season. So as the pass rusher, and even his pass rush grade wasn't great on PFF. But he had 7.5 sacks, which was 7th. PFF has him at 8 sacks, which was 7th among interior defensive linemen. And at his age, he's a year younger than T'Vondre. So I just want to highlight this guy could develop into someone that could be a true stud at pass rushing. And so I just wanted to bring him up because we're at consensus. Everything's been pretty consensus, and we haven't been talking a lot of different people. So I wanted to bring up Brian Brissy in this conversation. And as a Saints fan, I want to put his name out there and break the PFF hate cycle that is going around Brian Brissy. So Brian Brissy, respect to you. Shout out to you. I'm going to get some hate comments for bringing him up, but still, I stand by my point. Anyways, moving on to linebackers here. Right? I'm just moving on. Linebackers here. We got Edgerrin Cooper at number 1. This is consensus yet again. Obviously, Hammer isn't here to talk about him. I know Hammer would give us a nice little 10-minute speech about Edgerrin Cooper and what he brings to the Packers team and defense. This is a guy that came into this defense and immediately balled out as a young star for the team. And I think he does a little bit of everything well. Like he's good in coverage. He's good in run defense. Absolutely everything you want from a young linebacker. So what are your guys' thoughts on Edgerrin Cooper?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to read off the stat sheet that he had from last year, and I think that kind of speaks for itself. 14 games, 87 total tackles, 3.5 sacks, 4 pass deflections, an interception, a forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 8 quarterback hits, 8 pressures on only 32 blitzes, and allowed a passer rating of 78.8 with only 1 touchdown allowed in coverage. I mean, he just does it all, right?
As well.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Throw that in there too, right? Ridiculous. He just stuffs the stat sheet. He's everywhere. He's flying around. I mean, this guy. I mean, we got to start talking about him maybe this year if he can do this again. Top 10 linebacker. Like he's one of those guys, right? Like
definitely.
I don't want to give it to him right now because you want to see another year of him being able to do this, but I see no reason why he can't. He's a freak athlete. Yeah, he's just an absolute dog.
Yeah, Ethan, anything to add there?
Yeah, he also has like great instincts and like has a nose for the football, great play record, and just his change of direction can be a little shaky at times, but that's like the only thing you could possibly want more out of him. And even that, like if that's your stain on his resume, like that's a pretty good resume.
Yeah, no. Moving on to linebacker 2 here. This one was a little bit tough because there's not really any other like standout young linebackers. So we're kind of picking at straws here for this one. Ethan and I both had Leo Chenal, and then I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And then Ty had Ivan Pace Jr. So Ty, do you want to break down Ivan Pace real quick?
Yeah, I think Ivan Pace is a little bit underrated. His first year in the NFL, he had like 102 tackles across 17 games and had a really, really good pass, coverage rating, 77.7, right? He was, a huge part of the Vikings defense this past year. Got a little banged up, still had a really good run defense grade, but his pass defense grade dropped dramatically. He was the lowest among qualifying linebackers at another 29.3. I don't know how it gets that low.
Not
but,
great.
I think maybe part of that was maybe some of the hamstring injury, right? Like, yeah, it's not great. It's not great. 20s are not great, but
Okay, I'm just saying it was astronomically bad when it was Brian Bresee, but now
Yeah.
I haven't
No, it's
paid.
still bad. It's still bad for sure, but I
Uh,
think there's promise there with the year that he had before in pass coverage. So,
yeah,
I'm gonna attribute some of it to the hamstring injury, right? He did talk about, how he rushed back a little bit. The doctors did give him the option to sit out for the rest of the season, but he did end up coming back sooner than he was supposed to. So, definitely probably played a factor there. But I think, when you look around, I mean, I thought about Chenal a little bit too, but I think pace was a key part one of the best defenses in the NFL.
yeah.
With Minnesota last year, kind of shocked a lot of fans around the league. Just how well they played, and I see no reason why he can't bounce back as a coverage linebacker to what he did in the 2023 season. So.
Ethan, anything to add there, or do you want to? I mean, it's not your guy, so you want to
Yeah.
just talk down Leo Chenal or?
Yeah. Well, like Ivan Pace, I think is a bit linear and like in Brian Flores' scheme, like that can kind of be masked a little bit, which is why you see like up and down seasons from him. But with Leo Chenal, I don't think he's that much better. I really had to stop myself
Yeah.
from putting Jahan Campbell on this list because I think after the first year, it's going to be Jahan Campbell and Edgerrin Cooper, and I
Very
don't think
realistic.
it's going to be close.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leo Chenal is just kind of like a playmaker on a really good defense. 60 combined tackles last year, 3 forced fumbles. And he's a really good run defender. So I put him over Ivan Pace, but it's not like a clearing or anything.
Yeah, and the thing with Leo Chenal is too, he's not like a full-time. He wasn't like a full-time player for the
Right.
Chiefs either. So it's again for that linebacker 2
It's
spot
tough.
where we are picking at straws. It's like you could kind of put either. It's just up to personal preference there. Moving on to safeties here. This is again consensus. The 2 safeties are Brian Branch and Kyle Hamilton, and both of these guys are absolute studs and they're every single aspect of what they do. Brian Branch is a guy that can play down in the. I mean, both guys can play down in the box, but Brian Branch is an absolute bruiser when it comes to tackling, and he also can play the ball really well. Kyle Hamilton, absolutely insane in coverage and can play the ball really well. You absolutely do everything you want both of these guys, studs out of college. Kyle Hamilton did have some doubts, like when he first got into the NFL, like fans were like, is he going to pan out? Things like that. And immediately proved him wrong once the season started. So what are you guys' thoughts on Brian Branch? Then we can break down Kyle Hamilton in a second.
Yeah, I think Branch, one of the things that sticks out to me is just the versatility, right? Like he could play as a high safety, he can play as a nickel corner, and I have no
Yeah.
doubts that he could probably play outside too, right? So, he's kind of like that's how people are thinking about Jahdae Barron. Brian Branch is the Barron before that. So he's just been a staple to this defense. He is, I would say that he's part of the reason they turned around. Obviously, the defense wasn't great last year, but they were so hurt, right? Like,
Yeah, it wasn't on him.
But a healthy defense like him, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph are like staples and Jack Campbell, staples of the young guys that they brought in and helped turn this defense around. And he just does it all, right? He had a 91 pass grade, which was second among safeties, and a 90 run defense grade. Like he just doesn't have many weaknesses. I guess his size, maybe he's not the tallest guy. Like Kyle Hamilton's like 6'5", but he's a dog.
Yeah, and I'm just real quick, like you mentioned Kirby Joseph. If Kyle Hamilton wasn't here, Kirby Joseph would be one of like the other candidates for the safety 2 spot because he's been really balling out as of late too. So I like that you brought him up. Ethan, anything to add for Brian Branch? You want to talk Kyle Hamilton?
Nothing really to add on Branch. You guys kind of covered it, but like, I mean, people say don't draft safeties, but these are 2 of like
Hands out.
5 certified top safeties in the league, and
Yep.
they're under 25. And Kirby Joseph is another one. Like,
Yeah.
kind of shows you that you might want to draft safety occasionally.
Yeah, and we saw it. Who was it? There's a couple safeties this year that got drafted. So
Malachi Starks, Nick Monowari.
Starks.
yeah. So keep an eye out on them because, like Ethan just said, you need to draft these guys to really turn around defense. So we could see that happen in a few different places this year. So Ethan, sorry, you continue.
Oh no, that's all I had. We can move on to Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah. Move on to Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, so he just does everything. I think he's probably, if we're doing every player stacked on here, I think he's probably top 5 of just players under 25. It's just, there's nothing you can like game plan against for this guy. Like he can be used literally at every spot on the secondary. And just like moving him around is kind of what turned around the defense last year because he had to kind of do other people's jobs who weren't performing. And the fact that like we can just be like, Kyle, I'm sorry, this guy's not cutting it. We're going to move you over here and do a couple more things, and then your defense is pretty much fixed, like that in the middle of the season. Like there's no defensive player I would probably want under 25 if I'm starting a team than Kyle Hamilton.
I think that's fair. It's fair. Ty, anything to add there?
No, I mean, like, you know, in addition to being able to play every spot in the secondary, this guy's a sub linebacker too, right? So he, you know, if they didn't have Roquan Smith, they might be asking him, hey, go play linebacker and stop the run for us, because he's, you know, phenomenal against the run, and he's a really good pass rusher too. So like Ethan said, this guy can do it all. You know, these two safeties, I mean, they are true Swiss Army knives for their defensive coordinators. So it's a awesome thing to have.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Like when I know both of these guys, when they were going into the draft, like people were trying to bring them down almost, like it kind of talk not bad about them, but like say like their draft stock is too high or things like that. Like teams are overvaluing them, and they truly proved that they're both absolutely elite and they deserved to be drafted where they did. And Brian Branch was second rounder, so Lions got a little bit of a steal, if anything, getting him in the second round. Moving on to cornerback here, our CB1 is going to be consensus, and then our CB2. Actually, CB2 is consensus as well, and then our CB3, which is going to be a nickel, was not consensus. So CB1 and CB2 are Derek Stingley Jr. and Christian Gonzalez. Both of these guys, absolute ballers, and both of them were projected to be ballers coming out of college. So Derek Stingley Jr., absolutely everything you would want out of a corner. He's probably I would say a top 4 corner in the league.
I think he's
top 3. Yeah, top 3 corner in the league at this point in time. And again, we see this Texans defense being absolutely rebuilt with DeMeco Ryans and this young defensive talent. And then Christian Gonzalez on the other side of the ball, right? He got passed up by a few teams in the draft. And for whatever reason, everyone thought he was going to go a lot earlier than he did in the first round. He fell all the way to New England and has balled out for New England as well. So what are you guys' thoughts on Derek Stingley Jr.? And then we can move on to Christian Gonzalez after that.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, like I think he's probably the number 2 corner. He really had a really, really strong year this year.
Yeah.
You know, 5 interceptions, 18 pass breakups, first team All-Pro, right? And I think, you know, he, again, like some of these, you know, a lot of times you talk about edge defenders being the reason that maybe a defense turns around, but I think with some of these guys, right, when you're the best of the best of your position, like Derek Stingley is a huge reason that this defense has been able to turn around in the past couple of years under DeMeco Ryans. Obviously, Will Anderson that we mentioned earlier, but Stingley, just really a lockdown corner. 39.6 passer rating allowed when targeted. That's the best in the NFL.
It's absurd.
I mean, I don't know. You know, that's as bad as Brian Bercy's run defense grade. So that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I have no comeback. I can't say anything.
It's a little better, right?
Yeah.
Do not disrespect the 28.0 Brian Bercy run defense grade.
Brian Bercy. Hey, I had to bring him up. Had to shout him out. Anyways, Ethan, anything to add for Derek Stingley?
Yeah, I mean, he's just like a number 1 corner, like solidified. I think he's high risk, high reward, which sometimes guys kind of get knocked for. Like this past season, like I'm sure us here, we know how good Derek Stingley is coming out of the draft and everything, and then people are like, oh, he's too aggressive. He gives up too many plays, and he will occasionally give up a big play, but he's going to make more plays than he gives up.
Yeah. I agree. I think he's just, does everything you want out of a corner, and you can trust him. Like corners, obviously, if there's a big play against them, like everyone's going to know because you are the last line of defense most of the time. If you're a corner, like the safety is there sometimes, but if you're man on man and they throw a deep ball and you get beat, like you're screwed. There's just nothing you can do, and it's going to show up. But then when you make a big play, everyone wants to praise you at the same time too. So it's make or break at a corner, and Derek Stingley Jr., he makes it more than he breaks it. So moving on to Christian Gonzalez, what are you guys' thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, very similarly, right? Like highly rated prospect coming out of college, and a guy that, missed a lot of time that year 1. I think he only played 4 games because of injury. But this year, right, came out really strong. Really, really good man corner, ranked among one of the highest. I think he was the highest ranked corner in man coverage this past year. 71.7 passer rating and a 55.7 completion percentage allowed. Also top 10 in stats. So I think this is another guy that's, probably a lock for like a top 5 corner. Second team all pro. It kind of tells you what you need to know, right? If you're an all pro corner, you're one of the best in the league. And I'm really excited to see what he can do under Vrabel too, right? I think this defense is vastly improved, especially on the defensive line, which is going to make his job a lot easier, right? Guys are going to get to the quarterback a lot faster, so he has to. I mean, he's already sticky enough, but he could be less sticky. So excited to see what he can kind of do, especially just under the Vrabel scheme too.
Yeah. Ethan, anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, he is the key part of the defense. I mean, like he's 6'1", 205. I just looked that up. He plays way bigger than that. Like you would never know that he's 6'1" because he's long. He's a press man corner. He's going to be a pest. Nice guy, but like he's a nightmare to be against on the field. And I can't remember if was it injuries why he fell in the draft because he went at like 17 to the Patriots. I believe it was because this guy was. Yeah, this guy like as a prospect, like you could tell he had it. It's kind of like a Josh Simmons thing this year. Like you just kind of have to trust the tape and hope the injuries kind of work itself out, and the injuries worked itself out with Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, and also that year I was looking like it was also some like needs. There were a lot of needs, and Washington did take Forbes over him. Like it was a little bit of like I think it was because the Commanders didn't want a man necessarily like a man corner. They wanted more of like a zone, but Emmanuel Forbes just
that's a rough look.
It wasn't like
he's a bad zone corner either.
Yeah, like Emmanuel Forbes also was like 160 pounds. With like I'm 160 pounds and I'm like a good 4 to 5 inches shorter than him. So it's like, why would you pick in the NFL? Like there's
Gonzalez isn't a big dude either, but still.
No, by any means, no. But Emmanuel Forbes, like you see his legs too. Emmanuel Forbes' legs are like literal sticks. Like it's bad. But Christian Gonzalez is definitely better. And I think most people's eyes ranking wise going into that draft. So it surprised a lot of people, and it surprised people that he fell as far as he did. Anyways, moving on to the nickel spot. I have the different pick here, and then Ty and Ethan have Trent McDuffie. My pick is going to be Cooper DeJean showing up. I have my exciting white pick of the list here. So I think obviously Cooper DeJean, we saw him come into the league last year, and a lot of people, he was he was a really good player at Iowa, but no one knew exactly what he was going to be in college. No one knew we were talking about him that he could be the number 1 corner in the draft, but at the same time, it was like he could be also a little bit lower on that list. But he came in, he moved to the nickel slot for the Eagles and absolutely balled out. 0 touchdowns allowed on 606 coverage snaps, 84.2 PFF coverage grade, and a PFF run grade of 90.4. So really high up there in the rankings in the NFL at the nickel position in the run grade. And he also took his first pick for a touchdown against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, which really bumped up his stock. And I think it really showed that what he's capable of and who he can be in the NFL in the future. So that's why I put him on my list. He's younger than Trent McDuffie. I saw Ethan and Ty had Trent McDuffie, and I was like, I want to get someone different in there. And he's also a little bit younger, so he has room to improve before he turns 25. That's my thoughts. Do you guys have anything to add on Cooper DeJean, or do you want to talk Trent McDuffie?
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely has the potential to be, long term, probably one of the best nickels. But McDuffie, I don't know. I'll if Ethan has anything left to say about DeJean, but I think McDuffie for me, it's once I start to talk about him, it's a lock.
Yeah, McDuffie's probably the best nickel in the NFL, and probably
I agree.
But Cooper DeJean, another 2nd round pick. Kind of ridiculous that like these guys are just such clear values, and the NFL just lets them slide,
And the Eagles seem to be like, I will say this, like the Eagles seem to be a team that values, right? Like they'll be towards the end of the first round or whatever, and they'll get a guy that has great value. Like this year, they went and got Jahad Campbell, which like, how did that even happen? Was that allowed? Everyone saw that he was a top defensive prospect in this class. They get the value that Makuba as well. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. They get these great values late into the rounds. It's just because teams don't value these guys as much as maybe they should. So Ty, I'll let you get into your Trent McDuffie spiel here. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similarly, the way that we talked about Hamilton and Branch, like McDuffie
Yeah.
is a do-it-all kind of guy, right? Like when you look at, again, grades aren't everything, but I think these grades really tell a story. 82 overall, right? That's tied third amongst all corners. 89 coverage grade, that's fourth amongst all corners. 81.6 run defense grade, 80 tackling grade, and 88.6 pass rush grade with a 82.9 passer rating allowed, sixth amongst all cornerbacks. So really, really high numbers. He's a great tackler. He doesn't have a ton of tackles. He's like a 50 tackle guy, but he just doesn't miss tackles. He's a lock in coverage. He's hot off the edge out of the nickel. I don't know. He is outside of Chris Jones. He's easily, and I'm willing to say over Chris Jones, like he is a huge reason why that Chiefs defense was one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. Right? Obviously, Spags knows how to draw it up. Chris Jones is the problem, but when you have a nickel corner like that, and just a corner in general, that it's like having a Pat Surtain, right? Like for me, in my eyes, right, it's like Pat, Stingley, McDuffie, I think at 3, and then I'd put Gonzalez at 4, Sauce at 5, right? Like I think McDuffie is just such a, and he's pushing on Stingley too because he is, they've had a lot of success as a defense, as a team. He's just a dog, man. He does it all. It's just like Branch and Hamilton. It's like when you have a guy like that, you can play them, kind of just like a chess piece anywhere you want, and it makes your defense a lot more dangerous because all the other guys, right, they play within their scheme, they do whatever, but you have that one guy who's your X factor that, you send him on a hot blitz, you send him on these loop blitzes, right? You know he's going to lock down whoever's in the slot, right? So he's a dangerous guy to have.
Yeah, Ethan, you have anything to add?
Yeah, like where you rank Trent McDuffie amongst corners is kind of just how much you value like a perfect nickel versus like a perfect man-man quarterback with like him and Pat Surtain. I value Pat Surtain more, so obviously I would have him number 1. But yeah, McDuffie is like, what did you say, Ty? 81.6 run defense grade, something like that.
Insane.
Yeah, and that is at, what is he, like 5'11", 190, I believe. He's 5'11", 193. And having that high of a run defense grade as a nickel is pretty unheard of. And then like also like he's just a playmaker, and it's another guy like you could line up man to man outside, but he's just most effective at the nickel because you're funneling targets into there. He's just near the ball more, and he also had 13 passes defended next year, which is a pretty insane mark.
Yeah, and Ty, real quick, I like that you brought him up with Chris Jones and kind of talked about like if you would choose him over Chris Jones, and I think for me, I would choose Trent McDuffie over Chris Jones for at least, even if they were the same age right now. I think if you lock down a true like just lockdown corner that you can put in a nickel or outside, I think it truly is incredibly valuable because like you are worrying so much less on if teams can have just immediate like breakout pass plays. Whereas if you have like a solid D line, like you're okay. But if you have iffy or even just like average corners, it's a lot worse than having just an average D line. Like, yeah, you'll be able to have like a longer time in the pocket, but if you have a lockdown corner, it won't really matter, right? So
Right, get coverage check. So there's only a handful of guys that you could take over McDuffie, like a TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Hutchinson. But there's like 4 or 5 guys that, as a defensive lineman, you would even consider taking over McDuffie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And I know like right now, like all the talk is about how defensive linemen are so incredibly valuable and like their pay is going up and up and up and up. Not enough talks going to the cornerbacks and the defensive backs out there. And like Ethan said, like the value for some of them is a little bit underappreciated. So just wanted to break that down. You guys have any closing thoughts or anything to add? Or I know the Hall of Fame game will be tomorrow for us recording. When we post this, it'll be last night. But just real quick, it's the Chargers taking on the Lions. It'll be Trey Lance Jr. or I don't know if it's Jr. Just Trey Lance versus Hendon Hooker, who I was really high on Hendon Hooker going into the draft process, and obviously he's been behind Jared Goff, so he hasn't been able to show anything. But maybe show something in the Hall of Fame game. What are your thoughts on the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah, I think when Hooker has had some opportunities, he didn't look too bad. But he had that knee injury coming out of college, and he's an older guy too. But I was kind of high on him too. But Yeah, it's just good to have football back, man. Even if it's the preseason and you're watching, Trey Lance, the bust of a third overall pick versus Hendon Hooker, the old, second year guy or whatever he is now. It's still football. It's awesome, and I'm gonna be locked in.
Yeah, definitely. Ethan, are you hype for the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah, it's nice to have football back, like you guys said, but like this quarterback matchup doesn't really excite me all that much. I don't know if you can blame me, and I'll also be moving tomorrow, so unfortunately won't be able to watch it. But I'll catch the highlights,
Yeah,
see if any
if
young
there
guys
are any.
stand out, and it's just there might not be, but yeah, it's just nice to have football back again.
Yeah,
Excited.
and it is crazy to see, like, we talk about like the under-25 list and Trey Lance when he came into the league, about how like he was such a high draft pick, and how every year it seemed like for the first few years of his career, everyone was like, this is Trey Lance's year. He can really break out this year. And it just never happened. And so these draft picks, we talk about it, who are undervalued, who are overvalued. It's really hard to get some draft picks right for these teams, and you just never know sometimes. But these guys, this under-25 team, have really panned out. They've balled out for their age, and I'm excited to see what they do with the rest of their careers. Anyways, that'll do it for today's episode. You guys know where to check us out on social media at Jenks Island, and wherever you get your podcasts at Jenks Island as well. We'll see you guys next week.